As India's enterprises move from AI pilots to scaled deployment, a new strategic priority is emerging. Not just how fast you adopt AI, but how securely, how responsibility, and on whose infrastructure. Digital sovereignty, which is the ability to control where your data lives, how it's governed, and who can access it, is fast becoming a boardroom conversation, not just a tech one. With the sovereign cloud market projected to hit $169 billion by 2028 alone, and 80% of it multinationals, expected to implement sovereign data strategies by 2027, the architecture decisions enterprises make today will define their competitive position for a decade. And my guest today on the interview has been at the center of this transformation, leading IBM's India and South Asia business through one of the most consequential shifts in enterprise technology. Sandeep Patel, Managing Director, IBM India and South Asia. Welcome to the interview, Sandeep.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
Right. Sandeep, you know, Indian enterprises have been running AI pilots for the better part of 2 years now. But the leap from pilot to scaled deployment is where most organizations are stuck. In your experience across the India and South Asia market, what is the single biggest barrier holding enterprises back from that transition?
So I truly believe that, if you are not scaling I think you're just sitting there as an observer while the industry is rewiring. So I think the time for scaling is now. However, what we hear from executives and enterprises today is that there are a few key areas which are stopping them from scaling AI. First is just understanding, where to start and the kind of use cases to pick. I think people oscillate between getting too esoteric to making it too simple. But I think getting it more practical and picking things that you can actually make an impact with, either in your own organization or in how you serve your customers or how you maybe improve your business processes, that's where you need to sort of start and scale things that can get adopted very, very quickly. So that's one piece of the equation. Second is, I think, trust. Trust is huge because here you are using data to make better decisions, make automated decisions, and so on. So ensuring that you're doing that, A, with the right data provenance, doing it with the right governance around the data and others is really important. And third, it is ensuring that you are doing this with the right kind of controls in place that is enabling you to meet with the regulations and others of the land. And underlying all of this is ensuring that you have the right skills to do this, both skills at a managerial level to make sure that you are picking the right use cases and driving adoption at scale. But secondly, also getting the right skills that can actually help you scale this technology.
But trust somewhere, Sandeep, also brings me to digital sovereignty, a term that's sort of gaining real traction as we speak. But it means different things to different people, I guess. I mean, for a large Indian enterprise, a bank, an insurer, a PSU, tell me, what does digital sovereignty actually mean in practice? And why has it moved from a compliance checkbox to a strategic priority, according to you?
Yeah, so let me try and define what at least I'm seeing digital sovereignty evolve. And this is not just in India, I think this is around the world. I think for years, digital sovereignty discussions were primarily focused around data residency, or at least it was used as a proxy for data residency. Can we protect our own data? Do we have the right controls built around that and so on? But AI has fundamentally changed that model. So as a result, sovereignty today extends beyond where data resides to include A, who operates the platform under which authority. Where are the AI models run and how is the AI inference, how is that governed? Who has administrative access and how is it enforced? How can compliance be demonstrated continuously, for the regulators and not just be documented? And all of this, I think, has become a lot more relevant today in the geopolitical scenarios that we live in. So I think, as we talk to enterprises, not just in India, but around the world, these are the kind of questions that are coming up. And there is a reason, right? Growing regulatory and technological demands are driving adoption of these sovereign solutions. Organizations today are not just worried about technological innovation, but they are facing pressure not only to comply with local and sector specific rules, but also ensure secure AI workloads and maintain a level of operational dependence. Gartner today, and I'll give you a data point here, which is I think very relevant. Gartner today predicts that more than 75 plus percent of all enterprises outside the US, and this is a non US statement, right, will have digital sovereignty strategy by 2030. And I think India's path to trusted large scale AI runs through what I'm now terming as digital Swaraj or digital sovereignty, which is powered by hybrid cloud infrastructure.
That's a nice one, digital Swaraj. But tell me, India's regulatory environment as well, Sandeep, is evolving very fast. I mean, the DPDP Act, RBI's cloud framework for financial institution, SEBI's data for localization push. Are Indian enterprises ahead of the curve on building sovereign ready architectures, or are most still reactive, building for compliance rather than competitive advantage?
So I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? Compliance clearly, compliance to regulation, I think that is something that is on top of everyone's mind. But organizations, I think, increasingly are realizing that governance cannot be treated as a separate work stream. It needs to be embedded directly into the AI systems and workflows from day one. We just did a India AI study in partnership with METI, actually, and it's getting a lot of good traction. And that study found that 68% of organizations they cite that AI governance gaps as one of the biggest barrier to scaling AI. You asked the question about scaling AI. I think understanding what that governance should be and making sure that it's embedded in the organization, 68% of the organizations. The other one that's also very critical is data quality, governance, infrastructure, and workforce capability. They continue to slow the adoption. So 57% of organizations, they cite inconsistent data quality as another challenge. And so as AI starts becoming embedded in critical business functions, governance then increasingly becomes an architectural capability rather than just being a policy document. So it's not just about compliance, right? It is ensuring that you are compliant, but you are able to demonstrate that continuously, not just have it, documented somewhere.
There's also a tension at the heart of the enterprise AI conversation, right? And the need for open, scalable AI innovation on one side, of course, and the need for control, governance, and data residency on the other. How does IBM help organizations hold both of these imperatives at the same time without sort of compromising either?
Yeah, so look, that's actually a very, very interesting, very, very good question, because the balance that you talked about is actually absolutely very critical. So our approach, and since you asked about IBM specifically, I'll first talk about approach, and then I'll tell you how we are doing it through a variety of different solutions, right? So our approach is built on three foundations. First, trusted data. Second, hybrid cloud. And third, governance. It's something that we actually thought about and built into our design framework as we built our AI platform and capabilities. So technology has evolved, but IBM's approach of putting controls in the hands of organizations hasn't. A little known fact that I'll share with you is this is about, I think this was almost about 8, 9 years ago when AI, first started to work with AI in the way, and there was a lot of discussion around data sovereignty at that time, and we were probably one of the first ones that actually put out a data stewardship manifesto with the European Union. And essentially, what that says is that we will never take ownership or use clients' data. Clients' data and their outcomes and insights are theirs. And that is something that we've always kept very true. We've stayed true to that concept and philosophy as we've mentioned. So, how are we helping clients do that? This year, we introduced something called IBM Sovereign. It's an evolution of work that has happened over a period of time as we've worked with regulated institutions around the world. An AI-ready sovereign stack that's designed for flexibility, compliance, and control, hybrid and sovereign by design. So what it's designed to do is help organizations establish operational, technological, and data sovereignty within a single architecture. So if you think about an organization that's using, on-prem cloud capabilities and so on, this is a stack that enables you to operate your environment like a cloud, but with the operational, technological, and data sovereignty within that architecture. Another example, we recently concluded the acquisition of Confluent. Confluent is fully now integrated into IBM's hybrid cloud services businesses, where our clients now get a purpose-built real-time data fabric that's aligned to workload demands that is governed end-to-end and designed for the agent era. So think about it as completing the stack, right? Watsonx.data handles composability and context. Confluent now handles the continuous flow of data that feeds it. And as we bring all of that together with our Red Hat OpenShift, open source architecture, this hybrid cloud environment spans on-prem, cloud, and edge infrastructure all at once. So, this is sort of the stack that we are now building to enable enterprises, get to the end goal through these capabilities. We are also helping organizations transform software engineering through something which we call IBM Bob. So AI is now moving beyond code generation to AI-assisted delivery. And so IBM Bob is something that we've built. Again, it's an agentic framework that supports the full software development lifecycle, from planning to coding to testing, deployment, modernization, and governance. Today, 80,000 of our own employees are using Bob globally, with users reporting on an average 45 or so percent productivity gains. And what makes Bob different is that governance, compliance, security controls are all built directly into the development workflows rather than adding them as an afterthought. And so, what I would say, and this is sort of what we believe and we do for our clients, is that as enterprises scale AI, governance by design becomes increasingly important to maintaining trust, resilience, and compliance. And I think this is something that is really important for organizations to really adopt and build into their work environment.
Tell me, as we talk about hybrid cloud, and that's been the dominant architecture conversation for years now, but AI is changing that calculus, right? I mean, enterprises now need to run models where the data lives, not move data to where the model is. How fundamentally is AI reshaping how Indian enterprises think about their cloud architecture?
So look, I personally don't believe, and I think we've always lived with the philosophy that a single company will not build AI's future alone. The next phase of AI adoption will be shaped by openness, partnerships, and interoperability. So if you look at any organization today, any organization, pick any organization, they are by nature and by design working within a hybrid infrastructure. They've got some things that are on-prem, they've got some things that are sitting in maybe a variety of public clouds. There are certain things that they want to sort of have as a ring fence. They may even actually operate as a public cloud, as a private cloud. They may have something on the edge. So that is a reality that you can't walk away from, which is why the notion of openness, partnerships, and how you work across this hybrid architecture infrastructure in an interoperable manner becomes very, very important. Another data point from our recent India AI study, it found that 68%, I believe it was 68 or 70% executives, they believe that India today needs an ecosystem-oriented approach to AI adoption. And while 68% are already developing and optimizing and scaling external AI partnerships, how they bring that ecosystem together to truly operate in a hybrid environment is really, really important. So, I mean, we believe openness is becoming more important, not less, in the AI era. Just as a data point, I'll share two data points, which I think are very relevant. I think we were one of the first that came out and said that, look, over time, AI will not, the competitive landscape of AI will not be, how big of a model or how proprietary of a language model you have. They were probably one of the first ones that said, let's sort of work with small language models that are more fit for purpose. And then we were also one of the first that took that and moved on to open source because of the belief that if we can drive more innovation through a vibrant ecosystem that can extend and expand those models, that is goodness for enterprises and the world as a whole. Where you compete is the platform that you build that actually enables you to build and scale use cases at scale, drive the governance around this, do what we do with the data to make it ready for use of AI and so on. So that's sort of one example. Second one is, we just recently launched an initiative called Project Lightweight, and it's a significant investment that we announced around that. It reflects our conviction that innovation, security, and trust is scale best to open ecosystems that are combined with a strong governance. So this is an initiative that we announced between IBM and Red Hat, which obviously it's one of our companies. We committed $5 billion and a global workforce of more than 20,000 engineers to strengthen open source security and resilience across enterprise software supply chains. And this, I think, again, underscores the fact that hybrid infrastructure, how we enable innovation through open source, but do that in a way that has strong governance and security around it, right? That becomes really, really important. So our hybrid cloud strategy has always been built around hybrid by design, open by design, and compliant with the laws of land, flexible enough for organizations to adapt, and then resilient to enterprise grade. So organization and the flexibility is important because organizations increasingly, they want flexibility to adopt the best technologies, models, without creating long-term lock-in. And so having the architecture that's modular and that enables you to do that, that's really, really important. Again, another data point from the study, 70%, 70 to 72% of the executives, they believe that hybrid cloud offers that right balance between innovation, governance, and cost efficiency. So, I mean, I truly believe that as India, we have a unique opportunity to become a global AI leader. The differentiator, however, will not be access to models alone. A lot of talk around that. But it will be the ability to combine trusted data, sovereign capabilities, open innovation, and a really strong governance with an AI-ready workforce to drive AI at scale. And I really believe that that's sort of going to be it. And obviously that's an India statement from me, but I think that's in most of the parts around the world.
That really sort of brings my mind to Accenture's earnings this time around, because that's really been the talk right now and what it really spells for Indian IT services traditionally as we knew them, because Accenture has revised its full year revenue guidance lower. Having said that, AI is something they're really pumped about. The AI related bookings were a decent jump, now running at several billions of dollars. As a bellwether for enterprise technology spending globally, tell me, what does Accenture's numbers tell us about the health of the broader IT environment? And are we seeing a genuine acceleration in enterprise AI budgets? Or is the spending still sort of concentrated in a handful of large deals? And for IBM, does this rising tide lift all boats, or does it sort of sharpen the competitive dynamic?
Look, I'm honestly not qualified to comment
Sure.
on other organizations' earnings at this point. And honestly, I haven't looked into them in details. But what I will tell you is I'll answer your question in two ways. Number one, I think if you think about any technological innovation from time immemorial, it has always changed how work actually gets done and how it requires a newer set of skills that have to emerge over a period of time. What that means fundamentally is that the workforce, even within that particular industry where that innovation is taking place, that has to change. And this is sort of something that we are seeing with AI, probably at a much faster scale, because it is requiring, it is enabling work to be automated. It is enabling, a different way in which you interact with customers. It is driving much larger efficiencies. I just told you that with IBM Bob, we are seeing upwards of 45% of productivity improvement in just the coding space. So that is creating levels of efficiency that are probably going to change certain job functions, but it does require additional skills like prompt engineering and others. And it enables, if you're structured right, and if you are capturing the market right, it enables you to sort of drive growth at much faster multiples. Now, I'll just give you another very simple data point from IBM itself. About 3 years ago, when we started to build our own AI solutions, we embarked on saying, how do we apply AI to ourselves as a global organization? And I think we set out with the $2 billion productivity target. I think we exited last year with $4.5 billion that we were able to take out of our bottom line, with infusing AI into our own work processes across HR, across procurement, across finance, across a whole slew of functions, including even sales and how we manage the sales function. We've been able to do that. And I think that is where the world is going. And this is where I always say that if you are still running AI as pilots, you're not competing. You're just rehearsing while the economy rewires. And so what is really, really important, I think, is enterprises learn from this and start to scale AI both internally in terms of how they transform their own organizations, but also in terms of how they are now working with and driving solutions for their customers' benefits.
Interesting. Lastly, Sandeep, or rather IBM has been in India for decades, and you yourself have seen multiple technology waves, right? But where do you place this moment right now? AI plus sovereignty plus hybrid cloud converging. I mean, in terms of the scale of the opportunity for India specifically, and what would you say to the Indian investor community about IBM's growth trajectory in this market?
So, look, if you're trying to make me make a forward-looking statement, I'm not going to do that. Look, I do believe that we are at a bellwether moment in the tech industry, particularly with what AI enables us to do. I think the promise of AI is significant. I think what this technology enables us to do is drive productivity in a very fundamental way. It enables us to operate and respond to customer demands in a much better way. It enables us to create ecosystems, which I think earlier were difficult to create, because of the technological innovation that it's enabling us to do, because it's enabling us make better and more thoughtful decisions in the right way. So I do believe it's a bellwether moment. I do believe, though, that as we think about this technology, we really, really need to think about a simple question. You have provable sovereign control over your data, applications, and infrastructure. So I think you said it very well. AI as a technology and as a game-changing innovation that can enable enterprises to do something significant. That coupled with digital sovereignty and open and work and making it work in a hybrid cloud open environment with the right kind of governance and security around it, that's the name of the game. And I think that's really, really important, right? You asked me about IBM. I think we are very confident and we are very positive about our hybrid cloud and AI strategy. We also have, we're doing making a lot of investments, as you've probably seen, in quantum technology, which is what we believe is sort of the next wave of computing that's coming. And those are the bets we've made as we look out into the future.
Sandeep Patel, thank you so much. You've given us a very clear-eyed view of where the enterprise AI journey is headed, and of course the architecture, governance and partnership decisions that will matter most. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Aisha. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.